What's up everyone? We are one day away from the 9th eviction of Big Brother 23 and two house guests are getting very close. We've got so much to talk about, guys, so welcome to your live feed update. Now of course folks, I didn't do a live feed update yesterday, but just to catch you all up really quickly on the big event, of course, Alyssa decided to use the power of veto on herself, so she pulled herself off the block, leaving Xavier up there, and Tiffany was forced to choose a replacement nominee. And she chose, folks, Claire. So sitting on the block this week for eviction night is Claire versus Xavier. I bet you guys can guess who will go home, but the question of the day, of course, folks, is who would you like to go home, Claire or Xavier? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Now, of course, with the next eviction coming up very soon, and it being obviously blatant what is happening this week, Xavier is going to be safe and Claire's going to be heading out the door. Claire is yet to kind of realise that. I think she's got a hint towards it. She strongly feels it, but not to the point where she's realised I'm going out the door. So she's still campaigning. She's trying to find that angle. She's trying to find the little crack. Because I feel like if this were any other season, it's been said multiple times, I've seen it everywhere being said, basically if this was any other season, then Tiffany and Arza and Hannah would campaign to keep Claire because it's better for their game. But of course the cookout is enforcing Xavier to stay and Claire to leave the house, so Claire's still trying to find a little angle. And I've said this basically about everybody who's kind of realised they're heading out the house but continues to campaign. I have a ton of respect for it, so massive respect to Claire for still trying there when basically all hope is lost. But that's what keeps people going in the game. It's hope, and that's exactly what Claire's trying to do. And at least she's fighting to the last second. It's probably going to come down to a 3-2 vote, potentially 4-1, but I'd say currently we're looking at 3-2 with Arza and Hannah being the votes that keep Claire, as kind of a sympathy thing, and also as a cover for the cookout as well, you know, to kind of keep suspicions on the DL, because Tiffany still didn't kind of disclose the cookout to Claire when she told her about her having to go on the block the other day. It was kind of just said Tiffany said she'd made commitments and she realised what she needed to do for her beliefs, but she didn't say anything about the cookout explicitly, so Claire doesn't know just yet. But I'm sure the puzzle pieces start coming together when they get to the jury house. Brittany and DX, we saw in the jury segment from last week's eviction episode, they were close. They were very close to cracking it. And Brittany surprised me. I've got to give a little shout out to Brittany, because Brittany didn't seem that adept at the social aspect of the game while she was in the house, but damn, I mean, her retrospective on who was controlling the game was fantastic when we were watching the jury segment, and her paired up with Derek X. If both of them had been like that in the game, man, Brittany and Derek X could have done some damage, so props to them for actually realising that and looking back on that whilst they're in the jury house. Now, whilst Claire is on the campaign trails, Xavier continues to complain a bit more about Tiffany having won HOH this week. He still kind of has a chip on his shoulder about the fact that Tiffany wasn't supposed to win it, and he is not letting that go yet. It's interesting because you'd think being on the block, you'd kind of keep stum. Because, I mean, it's fair that, you know, he's got that feeling, but you'd think sitting on the block, I know he's obviously safe at being a member of the cookout, but you'd kind of think, you know, it's time to shut up. Put up or shut up, you know. And I think Xavier has shown, but not necessarily shown, oh yeah, I guess he's shown a lot of his colours this week. And a lot of the house guests are starting to realise he is not the player that they think he is, or the person they think he is. Claire's using that angle in her campaigns. So she is saying to Arza, Xavier doesn't need you. He doesn't need you in this game. And obviously Arza's got that commitment of the cookout, so she is not wavering from that. And she is basically kind of saying, I can't commit anything to you yet. I'm not telling you what my vote's going to be. When we know what Arza's vote is going to be, she could potentially be the sympathy vote for Claire, but not a vote to keep Claire around, as in enough votes to keep Claire around. But at least Claire's attacking all angles. I mean, she's really campaigning. Listen, it's like I said, if the cookout wasn't a thing this season, if it wasn't such a big, because I think there's a difference between the Cookouts Alliance and alliances of past, because obviously the Cookouts Alliance is this social message and it's this statement, and they've set out to do that, and majority of them have stuck to it, and Xavier has shown that he prioritises the game over the message, and that's fair enough. I've been talking about this over the past couple of videos. He, on a gameplay level, that's fine, but on a moral level, it's not, and I guess it's which way you see it as. Are you okay with Xavier using you know, the cookout as a vehicle to get to the end, using a statement, a social message to get his way to the end and betray that? Because there's definitely two ways to look at it. One goes, wow, that's excellent gameplay, he's playing for himself, and I say props to him for that. But on the other hand, you've also got to go, that's kind of sick and that's kind of wrong to use a social message like that to your advantage. But it's Big Brother, and you got to do what you got to do to get to the end. But Claire's obviously realised that's the way Xavier's playing, and she's trying to use that as her angle to try and keep her around. And like we say, I do strongly believe that if the cookout wasn't a thing this season, Claire would have successfully campaigned. But of course, her game is as good as dead this week, and their campaigning is kind of useless at this point. So that's where Claire's campaign is standing right now. Now, for those of you who've been following the feeds or even just following Big Brother on Twitter or anything like that, you will realise Tiffany and Kyland have been getting very, very close in the head of household room over the past few days. So, yeah, they've been... It's hard to describe this because we can't confirm for sure what's actually going on under those covers. But take a hint there, folks. It's stuff that's going on under the covers. They have been, as we say, getting very, very close. I'm sure if you punch into Twitter or punch into the web, Google somewhere about Tiffany and Kyland, I'm sure you'll find the clip and you can make the judgment yourself. But I'm going to leave it as that for now. They're getting very, very close. Now, let's talk about Arza and something she's been saying in regards to some gameplay. And it's very disappointing gameplay. She said to X that she would be okay coming third or even second to Big D or X. What kind of a game is that? You can't just... You've got to fight. You've got to fight. Oh, you're in the Big Brother house. There's so many people. I know for a fact, probably more than half of you guys watching right now would kill for a chance to get in the Big Brother house. And ours is in there, and she's virtually giving away her chance at the game. When she could win it still. She could win it. She's been playing quite good socially. She hasn't been the strongest player. She hasn't dominated. She hasn't been the strategist. But for goodness sake, don't get this close to the win and then just say, that's alright, somebody else can take it. It's very disappointing in my eyes. I don't know what you guys think. Because I like Arza. She seems like a really down-to-earth girl. Really, really nice person. But for her to throw away a game like that, as a Big Brother commentator, as somebody who's, critiquing the game, that's not what we like to see. I truly do think she could beat Big D in the final two. She's not going to beat X, but and that was also part of the conversation as well. She was telling X that basically everybody thinks that that he would beat them in the final two, and she continued to say all this stuff. She was spewing all this out. Then she asked X for a cuddle at the end, and X refused. And it was kind of one of those things where you go, Arza, come on, like pull yourself together. Have you got just walk away with a shred of dignity? You spilled basically your whole game to X and said that you're okay losing to him, and Big D for that matter, and then for him to do that as well at the end and say no and refuse the cuddle. It's a strange turn of events, folks. It's going to be so interesting when we get down to the wire with the cookout, honestly, and who's going to be turning on each other and what people's true colours are going to show. Because, man, I mean, this double eviction is going to send things into hyperdrive on Thursday night or tomorrow for that matter. It's exciting times, but equally, there's been so many people's games exposed this week where you sat there questioning it, you sat there praising it, and you sat there going, what the hell's going to happen next? Now, X mentioned to Alyssa, he said something along the lines of, to Alyssa, I've noticed that your crush on Kyland has been starting to grow. I don't know where he got that one from. I don't think Alyssa's shown that. Obviously, Alyssa and Christian are the showmans of the season, unless you count Derek X and Hannah, which kind of never was officially a showmans, but Alyssa and Christian obviously were. Derek X and Hannah were fantastic in my opinion, just have to say that. But anyway, X said that was kind of random, I don't know, and if anything, Kyland's been getting a bit close with Tiffany, so we can't say anything about that right now, but it's kind of weird because I do think X has a crush on Alyssa. He seems to be... He was playing so well, and I have to say that as well. You guys have seen me praising him the whole game. He's been playing so well, then all of a sudden I feel like he's kind of got this crush on Alyssa, and he's kind of thrown away every single loyalty he had before because of this little crush that he's got. And Alyssa doesn't like him back, it's clear. So it's interesting because I would say in a lot of people's eyes, of what I've been seeing all over, is that X is basically threw all of his cookout morals out of the window. Everything that he stood for in regards to the cookout, he threw out the window for a crush for Alyssa. A crush on Alyssa, and basically he's kind of thrown away his game and because other people are starting to pick up on it and realise that the way he's playing is selfish, and people have called him out and said that. Listen, everybody's gonna have a different opinion on the way that you look at it, but on face value, it does seem that it's the case. He's kind of thrown away his game for a crush. But I still don't doubt that X can get to the end if he makes the right moves and cuts the right people at the right time. But on face value, yes, it does look like he is basically, or his game, not necessarily thrown away his game, but his game has took a detour because of a crush on Alyssa. That is all of your live feed updates for today, folks. I thoroughly hope you all enjoyed watching. Please let me know your thoughts on this week in the comment section below. It's going to be a big week. It's the double eviction. Big times are coming, folks. Epic times are coming. And this week is going to go into hyperdrive tomorrow night. I'd love to hear everybody's thoughts in the comment section below. Do you think Tiffany has been a good HOH? Do you think Claire can save herself this week? That is a stupid question because the answer is no. Do you think X should be the person leaving the house this week, or do you think it should be Claire? There's so much to talk about, folks. So let me know in the comment section below. But folks, I'll say as I always do, make sure that you're all staying safe. And my dog is starting to bark right now, so I'm going to finish this one up. But folks, make sure that you're staying safe, staying positive and staying healthy out there, and be kind to one another. But in the meantime, please don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe. But until your next live feed update, I've been your host Tom Vasey and my dog barking. Good night.